final duel for sailing's greatest prize, and it promises to be the most exciting matchup in the 156-year history of the competition. And it's about to get underway here in Valencia.
The challenger, Team New Zealand, has waited 4 years for the chance to snatch back the trophy that was taken from them by Alec of Switzerland in 2003.
So the defender knows they're facing a team looking for revenge. Hollywood scriptwriters couldn't have written a better plot than that of the 32nd America's Cup.
Imagine the jubilation, celebrating and basking in the glory as your team lifts the America's Cup, the oldest trophy in sport, high above your head for only the second time in your country's history. You're on top of the world. But imagine the hurt of that team divided, the core split in two, the heart ripped out. Imagine the distress, the feeling of betrayal as those that were once your brothers form an alliance as a new team, Alec of Switzerland. Broken, you struggle to pick up the pieces and muster that Kiwi spirit you're famous for. But it's not that easy. You've lost experience as well as friends. Imagine then the humiliation, the hurt of a nation as you fall to this new adversary 5-0. Hopes dashed and dreams shattered, surely there is no way back. But even in the darkest times, there is light. A new team evolves with the strength to challenge the best. This is your time and your chance for retribution. The scars remain, but they merely serve as a reminder of what you have learned. Imagine reclaiming that prize. Imagine regaining that crown.
Here we go then. The scene is set for sailing's greatest prize, but how many twists and turns will the story take? It's the best of 9, the first to 5. It's Alec of Switzerland against Team New Zealand for the 32nd America's Cup. 5 million people have watched this America's Cup campaign so far. Today's a fiesta day in Valencia, so a record attendance is expected here at the port. It's free to get in, big screen, spectator boats to watch the action on, so a real party atmosphere as we count down to the start gun of the opening race. Welcome to the buzz of the 32nd America's Cup. Valencia is alive with anticipation for what promises to be one of the closest matches in the Cup's history. To enjoy it with us is Ben Durham, a member of the Afterguard on Luna Rossa and finalists of the Louis Vuitton Cup, and of course Richard Simmonds, our studio analyst. And Ben, it was of course Team New Zealand that knocked you guys out of it all. You must have mixed feelings today.
Yeah, for sure. Team New Zealand did a fantastic job against us, and going to be a very formidable opponent. And the champions Alec out there, so it's going to be really interesting to watch.
4 years it's taken us to get to this, Richard, and ironically we're back to where we were in 2003.
It's an extraordinary event, isn't it? It's an event where the winner automatically qualifies for the next Cup final. That's Alec there in the final. And New Zealand, and when the Cup was taken away from them, it was ripped out of the heart of the country. They've battled their way to fight to get it back, and yeah, it's tremendous atmosphere here today. It's quite extraordinary.
And Ben, you've just come up from the dockside and you said the atmosphere is incredible.
Oh, it's electric down there. It is amazing. What Spain's created here with the viaducts, 500 metres of screaming fans for these guys on their way out. So they'll appreciate that.
All right, well, it's been a long old road to the America's Cup match. There have been many hours of hard work and racing since Alec won it in 2003. Competition is unique because when you win it as defender, you just have to wait for a challenger to be found to take you on in the final match. You also get to set rules as well as host the event, but the defenders Alec had no suitable stretch of water for match racing in Switzerland, so they were forced to put the hosting rights out to tender. Valencia on Spain's Mediterranean coast won the bidding process to become host city. Since then, billions have been spent regenerating the country's third city. The arts and sciences area has become a major tourist attraction, whilst the port itself, well, that's been completely transformed and is now one of the world's premier sporting venues. 11 teams took up the challenge to take on Alinghi, and the past 4 years have been all about finding out who are the strongest team. The Defender took part in the preliminary rounds, but since April, they've had to sit it out with the challengers competed in the Louis Vuitton Cup. 2 round robins and the semi-finals, and we're left with Team New Zealand and Luna Rossa, who went head-to-head in the Louis Vuitton Cup final. New Zealand pulled off a 5-0 whitewash for the ultimate prize, a best-of-9 series against the defending champions for the 32nd America's Cup. So that's how it all works. Let's now meet the 2 finalists, starting with the Defender.
So how did a team from a landlocked nation win sailing's most coveted trophy? Multi-billionaire businessman Ernesto Bertarelli is the answer. His dream was to win the Cup for Switzerland, and he spent a fortune building a team with the fastest boat and the best crew in the world. In 2000, Bertarelli recruited members of the victorious New Zealand team, most notably their skipper, sailing legend Russell Coutts. With 2 America's Cup victories to his name, his defection proved pivotal to Alinghi's success. In 2003, the Swiss thrashed Team New Zealand 5-0 to become the first team from Europe to win the America's Cup in its 156-year history. But it left a bitter taste in the mouths of many New Zealand fans.
We're sportsmen, and you look for things to motivate you, and for some of us that motivated us to dig deeper and to find ways of being successful.
But after that great success, Coutts left Alinghi after a bust-up with Bertarelli. So do they have what it takes to win the Cup again without the great man?
My motivation is to win it because a lot of people think and have said that we can't since Russell Coutts left the team. So that's been quite a good motivator for us, and that to see it would be nice to see if we could win it. I'm not believing Russell. I still believe he's far and away the best at this game, but if we could win it without him, then you know, as I say, a lot of people said that we can't. So that's been motivation for us this time.
But that motivation could equally work against them, as the Kiwis are just as hungry and they're dreaming of revenge in what's being called the America's Cup rematch.
You could call it a rematch, or you could just say that, you know, these are the 2 best teams left in the Cup at this stage, and you know, hopefully we'll see some great yacht racing and a good spectacle. And you know, I think at the end of the day, the fastest boat will win.
Throughout the act, Alinghi showed great form and intuitive match racing ability. But for the past 10 weeks, they've had to sit back and watch as their opponents, Team New Zealand, hone their skills in the Louis Vuitton series. During this time, they've continued to push themselves through their in-house match racing program. But could the lack of competition mean they've lost their edge?
We bring in outsiders, we do lots of video analysis. So I would definitely take everything that being the Defender has, and as long as you're smart about it and don't have any of the disadvantages of not racing, it should be a win-win for us.
Such is the depth of Alinghi that they have 3 world-class helmsmen to choose from, and their choice will say much about their opinion of the New Zealand boat. German Jochen Schumann or American Peter Holmberg could bring a more aggressive approach, but American Ed Baird has been given the nod to start race 1.
Ed has actually proved himself as being, you know, very capable of sailing these boats. He's one of the smoother guys that steers them, and you know, he's got a good match race background. I've sailed with him on and off over many years, and so really, you know, it was a tough call because Peter Holmberg, I could say the same as Peter Holmberg, you know, and since we made the decision, you know, Peter Holmberg's done a fantastic job in getting Ed a bit more fired up and you know, ready for the regatta.
Alinghi may be favourites, but they're certainly not going to underestimate the opposition. Skipper and 3-time America's Cup winner Brad Butterworth is more aware of that than anyone.
I think they're just sailing very well, and they've had the benefit of the Louis Vuitton series to get their game bigger and better, and you know, they're a force to be reckoned with, and obviously they're on top of their game, and you know, dispatching Carter 5-0 is a you know, fantastic achievement, and good on them. Everybody's striving for perfection, and how we sail the boats, we try to be perfect, but we all make mistakes, and it's just this game's about making the least amount of mistakes.
Well, Ben, they certainly look like a well-drilled team. They're certainly well-financed, but what image do they have within the world of the America's Cup, amongst you guys?
I mean, obviously they have a very good image. They've set the benchmark for so long. In 2003, they really showed what was needed to win the Cup with their professionalism and their perfection. And we've all been striving to achieve that level and beat them. So, you know, everyone's, you know, they're a formidable team.
Very difficult for them, though, without having to go through the challenge of the Louis Vuitton Cup.
For sure, and that will be Team New Zealand's advantage going into this series. They will be battle hardened and a well-gelled unit at the moment. So.
Yeah, I mean, you say they're battle hardened, but then so are Alinghi. Maybe not in this campaign necessarily, but they've got a wealth of experience on board.
Everyone's talking up Alinghi, and quite right too. I mean, they're the form team, but just wind the clock back to New Zealand. Just the same day, same time, and everyone's saying the same about New Zealand. Everyone said, oh, they're going to walk away. They're saying it about Alinghi here, and look what happened. So, you know, it may not be as everyone's saying. Alinghi may have it all, but they may just not.
Okay, well, let's compare the two crews and see how they line up, because, you know, we're talking about experience, and if you look at the number of wins.
No, you're right. If you look at the number of wins, Alinghi are there. But I mean, hold it, they went in and stole half the Kiwi team. That's not surprising. You know, they've got half the old Kiwi team. They've got more experience. They're more older. Perhaps they're wiser. And, you know, on experience, yeah, 1-0 Alinghi, no question.
Ben, interesting stat there. 15 Kiwis on board the Emirates boats. Just one Swiss on board Alinghi. Does it make a big difference when you're racing for your country?
Yeah, I mean, Team New Zealand are very passionate for New Zealand, and the New Zealanders really get behind Team New Zealand. It's an incredible feeling. I mean, we saw it when we raced them in the finals. The amount of New Zealanders that were here really supporting the team. So, for sure, that'll be out there today for them, and that'll lift them.
I mean, clearly, you represented Luna Rossa, you know, on an Italian boat this year, but in the past, you've sailed for Australia. Did you feel there was a difference in emotions?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I was incredibly proud to sail for the Italians. I mean, they're an incredibly passionate country, and it was really fantastic to be able to feel that Italian passion. So, you know, it will be good for the Kiwis to be the 15 Kiwis on board and see what they can do.
Okay, well, that's the defender Alinghi. What about then the challenger, Emirates Team New Zealand? They've raced 107 matches to get here, and they have a big score to settle.
Emirates Team New Zealand are flying high as they move one step closer to restoring their honour and rebuilding the confidence of their passionate fans. After Alinghi inflicted what was arguably the nation's most humiliating sporting defeat 4 years ago, the Kiwis have much to prove and a score to settle. The 5-0 whitewash of 2003 was the low point of a depressing saga of disintegration. The 90s had seen New Zealand emerge as the new superpower of the America's Cup. Seemingly invincible, they won the Cup back-to-back in 95 and 2000. So important had the sport of sailing become to the nation that it was introduced into their national curriculum. And the government has funded this year's team to the tune of £13 million. Since the defection of so many team members to their rivals Alinghi, one thing has remained constant: helmsman Dean Barker. A national hero, Barker's won one America's Cup and lost one, and the hopes of the passionate fans this time rest on his shoulders.
for the Kiwi supporters that are here in Valencia and at home. And thanks to the messages of support we get every day, it blows us all away, and it's very, very cool. Gives everyone a lift.
Sailing legend Grant Dalton was brought on board at the start of this campaign to help with the management of the team and to rebuild that invincible Kiwi spirit. Teamwork and loyalty have been the key to the success of Team New Zealand in this campaign. Unlike their opponents, 78% of the sailing crew are Kiwis. Not a bad percentage for a country with only 4 million inhabitants. And their team spirit was evident in the early part of their campaign. After finishing the Acts as the top challenger, they suffered 3 defeats in round robin 1. Barker's ability was called into question, but he was quick to hit back at his critics.
My role as skipper of the boat, and I decide, who sails in the boat, and less much at long-term races. I have fully faith in Dean Barker, my 150% support, and we'll do forever. I get on well with him, he gets on well with the guys, it's a good dynamic.
Nothing silences your critics more than results, and Barker went on to finish top of the leaderboard. He chose to take on Spain in the Louis Vuitton Cup semi-finals. They dropped 2 races, but still looked comfortable, posting a 5-2 victory. Next was a final against the Italians' Luna Rossa. After much hype about Aussie helmsman James Spithill and his aggressive starting, Barker proved the more successful as the Kiwis stepped up a gear to complete a 5-0 clean sweep and lift the Louis Vuitton Cup. But that's not the trophy they came for, and just one team stands in the way of their dream.
Well, Ben, they beat you guys 5-0 in the Louis Vuitton Cup final to get here today. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, obviously we've still been debriefing and discussing it and looking at it, but I mean, they sailed really well. They really did, and they a very good team of getting control off the start line and taking that control all the way around the race course, and they did a very good job.
I mean, what fascinates a lot of people is that in order to get to the final, you beat the Americans, who were one of the favourites, 5-0. What went on there? I mean, how can there be such a contrast?
Yeah, and that's right, and to be honest, we're still discussing the 2 different series and what went on, but momentum is an incredible thing in this game, and once you get a little bit of momentum, and it is hard to stop sometimes, and we showed that against Oracle and got our tails up and sailed very well, and against Team New Zealand they did it to us. So.
And I guess, Richard, that's something, experience can't help you out with, the quality of the boat and the teamwork.
Quality boat and teamwork, and the Emirates team have looked very, very slick throughout this competition. Their boat handling, I'm sure you'll agree, it's always impeccable. Out on the tracks and the practicing, talking to people down here, Linky have been making a few mistakes. They do make mistakes. The track record between the 2 boats, well, perhaps, if experience is an advantage of Lingy, looking at that, it's advantage Emirates Team New Zealand, 6-4 in their contest so far. But I think what's really relevant about that, looking at those statistics, you'd say advantage New Zealand. Press pause, what's different? I'll tell you what, the Kiwis are facing a brand new boat, Swiss 100 on the sails. It could be absolutely sensational, but it might not be. And that's what's so sensational about today. Are we going to see a Swiss machine fly away from their aggressor, or are we going to see a very even match?
And ultimately, it comes down to the 2 helmsmen at the cutting edge, of the racing. Dean Barker against Ed Baird.
49 years old, Ed Baird, calm, mild-mannered guy, former world champion, never done this before. Remember that. You know what the atmosphere is like here, just being part of it. He's never been like that. Dean Barker, he's won it, he's lost it, he knows it. And, as a player here, Dean Barker's got huge respect. Advantage Barker, perhaps.
And the fact is, Ben, that nobody really knows what to expect. Today is crucial.
That's right. I mean, today both teams will be really feeling each other out. They'll be looking at the different modes of the boats, and seeing where their advantages are to be able to take through the series. So they'll be really feeling each other out today.
All right, well, we shall see. For the first time in its long history. The America's Cup is being defended here in Europe, and the people of Valencia have come out in their thousands to come and enjoy the spectacle of sailing's greatest prize. And it's also, of course, a huge day for the two teams involved, Team New Zealand and Alinghi. And they don't have long to wait now to finally go head-to-head. We'll see them parade out of the port right after the break. Welcome back to Valencia, our live coverage of the opening day of the 32nd America's Cup match between the Swiss, Alinghi, the defender, and Emirates Team New Zealand. Oh, just over 30 minutes before the start gun is fired, so not long now to find out exactly which of the boat designers have got the upper hand. And years of research and millions of pounds have gone into these yachts, and they really are at the cutting edge of technology. An America's Cup class boat is 24 metres long. It's almost twice the length of a double-decker bus. The mast is 32 metres high. Boats weigh a total of 25 tonnes, but the most amazing thing of all is the keel. There we go, with its lead bulb weighing over 22 tonnes. It's what stops the boat falling over or drifting sideways when the wind hits the sails. No engines, of course. The speed is down to the wind and the 17-man crew. They're fine-tuned to go as fast as possible, but can also be quite fragile. And Ben, they are quite dangerous places to be.
They are dangerous. I mean, they really push the edges of the design of these boats. You know, they really try and get them as light as possible. So in doing that, things do break, and there's an incredible amount of loads on these boats. And if something does break, or even the biggest, most experienced grinders generally jump. You know,
yeah,
it can be scary.
And of course, there's always the risk of going overboard, and you guys don't wear life jackets.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the guys up on the bow are working on a very fine platform up there. The boats are getting very narrow, and there are a lot of waves out there, and it's easy to come off.
Okay, well now there are 17 crew members on board those boats, an America's Cup boat, and as with any sport, the crew has a set formation. The front of the boat, that's where all the agility goes on. The bowman and the mid-bowman who prepare and pack the sails. Now, the bowman's also instrumental during the start of the race. Also part of the foredeck is the mastman, who uses his weight to help raise those enormous sails. Onto the middeck, this is the powerhouse of the boat, home of the grinders, who are the boat's workhorses and engine. They wind all the winches that provide the power to the sails and come into their own when the boat gets involved in a tacking duel. They work with the trimmers who control the ropes that are attached to the sails, adjusting them to make the boat go as fast as they can. And moving to the back of the boat, where you'll find the afterguard, often referred to as the brains trust of the boat, including the helmsman, the strategist and tactician. And this is where all the fundamental tactical decisions are made. So good communications with the rest of the crew, absolutely vital. And Ben, teamwork, crucial in an America's Cup boat.
Teamwork is crucial. I mean, it's about those 17 guys really working together to make the boat go as fast as it possibly can and to go in the right direction. And everyone's got to work together on the same page to get the best out of the boat. So very important.
All right, Ben, well, we're not long away from racing now. And about an hour ago, a lot of pomp and ceremony as the two teams headed out onto the water and made their way to the race area. And there must be butterflies in their stomachs, Richard.
Well, look at that, the Kiwi boat there leaving, the hopes of a nation. There are thousands of Kiwis here who've come to see those guys. What a moment for them. The heart must be pounding as they head out to battle.
And the way it worked this afternoon, the boats, the teams paraded up the canal. 20,000 people can get a grandstand view along the canal. And the America's Cup, the trophy itself, on the water for them to look at and salute, and for those fans to see.
Yeah, we didn't see anything quite like this even in New Zealand. The canal specially built. There's the Alinghi team preparing to go, and what an exit, what a departure for this stage that's about to be said, Alec.
Slight tinge of regret there, Ben?
Oh, for sure. I'd love to be going out there today. But it's great to see the Alinghi guys. You know, 4 years of work for those guys, and they haven't really done an official race, and they get to experience that today. So it'll be a big day for them as well.
Spanish Air Force and the Swiss Air Force put on a special display as the teams headed out, and a real positive note for them to start their America's Cup campaign. And right in the middle of it all was our reporter, Kelly Dalgleish.
So Alinghi are going out on the water for the first time since April to defend the America's Cup here in Valencia. We've already had the fireworks, we've already had the airplanes flying over, and now it's time for the racing to begin. Matt Cornwell is here with me as we join Alinghi on their path out this canal, providing a perfect grandstand. But Matt, when you came here 2 years ago, did you imagine that the start of the America's Cup match would be like this?
Yeah, no, I didn't imagine it would be anything quite as dramatic as this. I mean, when I first came here, this was just a sleepy fishing port. I mean, look at it now, this is incredible. I'm absolutely loving this atmosphere, it's awesome.
I mean, as a sailor, what's it going to mean to these guys to be coming down this canal out to the Mediterranean?
Yeah. I think the overall overriding feeling right now will be a huge amount of pride, you know. There's going to be a lot of nerves mixed in with that. There's the big question mark still to how you're going to perform. But the sense of pride they'll be feeling right now, because as a pro sailor, you don't see these sort of things every day, you know, so they'll really be enjoying this, that's for sure.
I mean, there are tens of thousands of people here at the port to watch this. It's going to be interesting to see how that affects the sailors, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it does. I mean, that's it. Everyone gets a little bit, they're a little different with the nerves. I think the great thing with these two cruises, though, they've done this event before. They've been in the America's Cup. So many of these guys have actually been in the Cup itself that, you know, they'll actually be okay with it. I think they enjoy the pressure.
And the boat we saw there that the Alinghi team was sailing out on, Swiss 100, we've not seen it in action before. The rumours are that it's seriously quick.
Yeah, I've heard it's a bit of a rocket ship, so, you know, we'll see. The great thing is, with all these rumours, no one really knows. I mean, until they got that first upwind leg, we really have no idea. So I just can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait.
I mean, how important are those first 10 minutes going to be in telling us a little bit more about the defender?
Yeah, I think they'll tell us so much that, yeah, when they first line up upwind, I mean, if they have a speed edge, we'll be able to see it then. And I mean, that could actually mean right then and there they're going to win the Cup. Or if they don't have a speed edge, we could be looking at a quite close series. So yeah, that first 10 minutes is really important.
And if the Alinghi boat is as quick as we think, how on earth are New Zealand going to get past them?
Yeah, it's pretty hard. I mean, if you've got a slower boat, you can't really win America's Cup races, especially not in Valencia, where the wind is very stable, the conditions are very stable. There's not many passing lanes unless you are a little bit quicker. So, you know, it'd be tougher if they can't, but who knows, maybe they'll be the same speed and we're going to have a full ding-dong match race and it'll be something to really enjoy.
I mean, if we just take a look at that boat now, you can see the Alinghi sailors just going out to the Mediterranean to take on Emirates Team New Zealand in this 32nd America's Cup match. Alinghi may well be second as they go up the canal for this match, but remember, this is the America's Cup, and out on the course there is no second.
There certainly isn't, Kelly. Fantastic scenes about an hour ago here at the port. We're just under half an hour away now from the start of racing. You've described the boat parade as awesome. You saw a similar thing in Auckland. How do the two venues compare?
Well, Auckland was fantastic as well, but obviously each generation of America's Cup you improve on it, and Valencia's done an incredible job here with the infrastructure and really spent a lot of money to create what they've done here, and it's really paying off. I think it's an incredible venue.
And there's no escaping the fact that the world's top sailing names are on the water.
Yeah, and on the substitutes bench as well. I mean, you know, Emirates Team New Zealand, they've got Ben Ainsley waiting in the wings. Didn't make the team, in 2 golds and a silver. 3 golds and a silver for Jochen Schumann and Alinghi. Didn't make the team. And I guess what we're now thinking is who is going to cross that line first and win this first match. And you know, when you look at Alinghi, you've got 5 guys on that boat who've won 15 America's Cup matches, 15 undefeated. And you look at the experience on that, and you think you can see why there's an advantage at Alinghi, but you still look at Emirates Team New Zealand, and you know, everyone's saying Alinghi, they may be wrong.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Team New Zealand are incredibly motivated, and they've been on a mission for 4 years since losing it, and they know what they have to do, and they're here to do it for sure.
So, you know, just press pause for a second. It's not over, but the first 10 minutes of today's match could actually provide the shape of the whole contest.
Now, Ben, you're obviously lucky enough to know all about being on board a boat, but we really want to give you an idea of what life is like on board, and we think that this is as close as you can get. So turn up the volume. This is the Alinghi team in a training match. It's pretty good.
Together!
When you're ready, Josh.
3, 2, 1, go bitch! Go, go! Go!
There we go, a small taster of what is to come, because we're nearly there. Race 1 is coming up live after the break as the quest to find the 32nd America's Cup champion gets underway. Don't go away.
G'day Grant, Dean and the boys. It's great to have this opportunity to wish you all the best for what you've got coming up against the big challenge against Alinghi. I know all the All Blacks have been watching with huge interest and pride at what you've done so far. You know, a lot of the boys have been getting not much sleep, so watching your races. So we're all stoked that you've you've got yourself into the chance to challenge for the America's Cup, and I'm sure with what you've done so far, if you put that into practice, you're going to go pretty good.
To Grant and the team, it's been awesome watching you guys, and just want to wish you all the best for the America's Cup. Good luck.
To Grant Dalton and Dean Barker and the boys, awesome to get through to the final and challenge for the America's Cup. All the best over there.
There's a few trophies that'll be great to be back in New Zealand, and I guess the America's Cup and a gold one from our point of view later in the year make a pretty good year for New Zealand. So we'll be watching, and as I say, all the best.
Almost as big as rugby is sailing in New Zealand, and the nation will be up all night to watch this match live as Team New Zealand try to win back the America's Cup from the defenders Alinghi of Switzerland. We're now just about 15 minutes away from the opening race, live and exclusive from Valencia. Well, let's go straight back to Kelly on the water. And Kelly, you've been based here since Act 13 in April. How have things changed there?
Alec, it's almost like a different place around the port. For a start, it's so much busier. So many Kiwis have descended on the place, absolutely thousands of them, to come and watch New Zealand in action. And finally, the Swiss have taken a little bit of time to get here, but they are that bit closer, and they're really well represented, especially down here in America's Cup Park, where they'll be watching it on the big screen. And the atmosphere down here is incredible. They showed a little bit of the match from 2003, and of course, Alinghi beat New Zealand, and people were absolutely riveted to that. But as soon as they came and started showing the scenes live from Valencia, then the atmosphere's really picked up. Everybody's very excited. And Dean Barker said during the Louis Vuitton Cup that there were so many Kiwis that he made it feel like a home from home for him. Well, there's at least 2 or 3 times as many as there were then, so goodness knows how they're going to feel.
Well, a great atmosphere down there. Tension, of course, on the team basis. And Kelly, Alinghi really left a couple of crucial decisions until very late.
Well, yeah, I think the decisions were actually made quite a few weeks ago, but they didn't announce them until like a couple of days ago. We didn't necessarily know whether the Swiss would be racing 91 or 100, their so-called rocket ship. And of course, that's the one we know they've gone with. And it wasn't really until yesterday that we knew for definite who would be helming the Swiss boat. We were given a few clues, and that Ed Baird was quite prominent in terms of Alinghi's training schedule. But yeah, Ed Baird is going to be the Swiss helmsman, or the helms for the Swiss team rather. He's going to helm Alinghi. And at the conference yesterday, the feeling we really got was that all the Alinghi sailors are just desperate to get out on the water and desperate to try and retain the America's Cup.
Great teams that we've sailed against in the past, and this is going to be as good as it's ever been. You know, the 2 best teams in the sport going at it, and you know, that's what gives me my thrills, that's for sure.
It does mean a lot, and possibly more than I ever thought it would. After winning in New Zealand, you get drawn into the game, and as you engage in it and spend more time at it and put more of your emotion and energy and intellect into it, you get more and more drawn into it, and it means a lot for me winning, obviously.
Well, Bertarelli there, the top man at Alinghi, saying how much winning the cup again would mean to him, but it doesn't compare to the expectations that the Kiwis have on their shoulders.
So much expectation, Alec, and so much pressure as well, not just from, as you said, so many fans back in New Zealand, tens of thousands of fans here in Valencia, but they've also got that government backing, and that's a real, well, not a burden for them, but it's definitely something that they're very much aware of. They know that they have to deliver to the New Zealand people, whose money has actually gone into making this dream of taking on Alinghi, a chance to win back the America's Cup, a reality. And while lots of parallels have been drawn between this and the match in Auckland in 2003, the New Zealander is very keen to point out, of course, the differences.
Well, Ben, I'm wondering, you know, we keep hearing how little we know about the Swiss team. If you were the strategist on board the Kiwi boat, what would you be looking out for right now?
Well, I think they've just got to keep doing what they have been doing and concentrating on what they're doing well. And they've had a pretty good weather team. So they'll be right now analysing the weather very closely and looking at how it's playing out. You know, we're in this nor'easterly gradient, it looks like, and the clouds started to burn off a little now, so they'll be watching how that's burning off and the sun coming out and how that's affecting the wind direction, and starting to make their strategy for the race.
All right, well, let's now head out to the race course, which is just off the coast of Valencia. They'll race 4 legs of the course, a total of around 12.5 miles. And there is the live weather conditions, and Ben, if you can have cast your eye over the speed of the wind there, and how's it looking?
Yeah, well, it looks like they're about 10 to 14 knots there at the moment, and still in the nor'easterly gradient direction. And I'd be expecting with this sunshine we can see behind us now that this wind will probably trend a little lighter and trend to the right in the next hour.
And another significant point about that is that Alinghi have never lost to the Kiwis when the wind has been stronger than 13 knots. So obviously we don't know how the new boat's going to react, but that's a great piece of information that the Kiwis will be mindful of, and aware that the wind is possibly not as strong as the Swiss might want.
Yeah, first comment, just some live pictures now from the racetrack, is that light breeze, but bit of sea out there, isn't it? It wasn't flat at all.
Oh, for sure. This nor'easterly direction does bring up the sea states, so there will be some waves out there, and also the enormous spectator fleet that's out there really mixes up the water.
And Ben, the flag's gone up, the significance of that?
Well, they're really starting to hone their final decisions now. The weather teams will have been giving their final calls, and the afterguard on board the boat will be starting to really make a plan for the race.
Yeah, that red diamond there. So 11 minutes to the start of the match. It's going to be the first to win 5 will win the America's Cup, and 11 minutes away when that flag went up. And huge spectator fleet out there at the moment, but the hearts of the crew on those boats really pounding now. They're getting the last bits of weather information, trying to make the tactical decisions, which way up the course to go. The start, of course, is so critical. There's a 5-minute build-up when both boats go into a starting area. And really, it looks complicated, but in that period, and that is the race control boat there bouncing around in the sea, And in that 5 minutes to the start, well, what the crews are looking to do is get ready to cross the line ahead of their opponent. 10 minutes to go to the start. That was the gun. So they're looking to cross the line ahead on the starting gun, perhaps even foul their opponent to get a penalty against them, and start on the side of the course that they want to go on.
Yeah, for sure, Richard. They're going to be really, Team New Zealand wanting to take this starboard advantage to Alinghi today. You know, they do have the starboard advantage and they want to use it today and make sure that they come in at full speed on the entry and really make sure they have a piece of Alinghi and use their starboard advantage to get the dial up, I think.
Yeah, but I guess, Ben, what they don't know is the Kiwis don't know if over the last 4 years, it's almost like a Formula One team, McLaren, hiding themselves away, creating something special and getting it out the wrappers, because when that start gun goes, there could be a big shock for everyone. That Alinghi boat may disappear, or it may.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, these boats are so refined now, and the differences in speed are small, and I think Team New Zealand will really want to drive this starboard advantage to Alinghi and get the dial up and really see what this new 100 boat is like in the dial up. What are they like at holding head to wind?
Now, part of their strategy now will be working out sails and so on. What are the rules about that? Because obviously they'll be picking one for the start, but they have a whole set of them on board.
For sure. I mean, you can see Team New Zealand there now. They don't have the jib up yet. They're still making the selection, and they'll probably have 4 or 5 jibs on board, which they'll be making the decision on. They'll be looking again. They'll be talking to the weather team, and the weather team will be telling them what is up the top of the course and what to expect for the beat, and then they'll make the decision on board. And they're hoisting something now. So
they're hoisting that sail up at 8 minutes and 13 seconds until the start. I guess the thing to watch for is in the pre-start. That's from 5 minutes to the start. Which boat gets the advantage and can cross the line first? And then, as the boats head upwind against the wind to the first mark, it's which boat can cross in front of the other. Because once you're in front of the other, particularly at this level, it is so hard, Ben, to get past.
it is, Richard. This game is really coming down to the first cross, and an enormous amount of resources is put into that first cross with the weather teams. You know, they have 3 weather boats out there, all the MDS boys scouting what the wind and what they predict is going to do to give them the first shift. So they'll be really concentrating hard on that and making sure that they get their boat with the right jib selection on and getting their boat speed really up to speed off the line.
And if you're sitting at home, you can, and you want different angles of this, you can really get involved because digital viewers can enjoy interactive coverage of the America's Cup. You can press 1 for our master feed, press 2 to enjoy live onboard coverage of Alinghi, press 3 if you want to go on board Team New Zealand. If you want to enjoy the action in 3D, press 4 for our groundbreaking virtual line. At the bottom of the screen you'll find a further 4 options that will give you all sorts of facts about the sport. But out on the race course, the nerves will be jangling, and yes, Team New Zealand have raced 107 times to get to this point, but this is the one, isn't it? I mean, everything else was a rehearsal for this, the first match of 9.
That's right. You know, it's they're incredibly skilled team, like you said, gone through a lot of races to get here, and it's really refined their skill. And Alinghi obviously won it last time, and they know what it's all about. So it's going to be exciting. There'll be a few nerves on board at the moment, I'd say.
It's a champagne day as well. With Valencia, we may have waited for some wind, but when it came to the crunch, it's delivered in style. Blue skies, and look at that breeze, plenty of breeze, yeah. So that the hearts may be pounding, but I can tell you what, they've got plenty on.
And the counter counts down to 0. That's when they want to cross the line, and they want to be first across that line to the start. And absolutely vital, the pre-start.
Pre-start, yeah. 40 seconds time, 5 minutes they will go into the box. It's then a head-to-head between the 2 boats. First out of the start, up the first upwind leg, and the first boat to cross in front of the other. That could shape the America's Cup.
Well, this is it. Match 1 of the 32nd America's Cup. Time to join our commentators, Peter Lester, but first, Martin Tasker.
So here we go. The toss was won by Emirates Team New Zealand to decide who would go into the box with the starboard hand advantage. Emirates Team New Zealand won that right, but at the moment the Kiwis are living there with a very slight lead showing up on the virtual eye numbers there.
I think it goes silo and
Linky put a big, leapt into a big wave just then, and that just slowed her up a little bit. So the Emirates Team New Zealand in the windward position, able to stay in the windward position, engage away a little off the line. One of the roughest conditions we've seen. It's around 12 or 13 knots, but the boats are pitching around. Dean Barker looking comfortable, body language looks good.
What's the 3D showing us here?
Well, that's the story so far as we come off the line. We can see the yellow line of Emirates Team New Zealand is gauged away. They've taken some height. Now that's going to mean that Emirates Team New Zealand will be bow forward on Alinghi. So if there's any initial indication, it looks like the New Zealand boat has pointed a little bit higher as they come off on starboard tack.
Magnus, give us your impressions of this this first slugging out of the contest.
Well, it's interesting to see that Team New Zealand managed to hang in there. I was quite sure straight off the start that Team New Zealand would be forced to tack away. They've been sailing into a slight high mode. You can see Alinghi moving forward a bit, but Team New Zealand have opened up the gauge and doing a really good job in these choppy and difficult conditions being to windward. And it's really a crucial moment. Of course, can they hang on there and stay there and keep gaining a bit, they could actually lock Alinghi out all the way to the ley line.
Well, Emirates Team New Zealand now are in a position in the windward position to be able to sail pretty well their numbers. I have heard coming off the boats, off the audio, that there is, in fact, they're in the maximum right that the wind has been. Now that would have helped the New Zealanders.
Sure is lumpy. This is the biggest. I mean, we just saw them hobby horsing then slightly. We know that both these boats are kind of moded the same way. The Kiwis changed their keel. They've got the famous Buzzy Beale long keel on, the Buzzy B long keel, and they're both moded in the same direction. But how in a chop does this help or hinder with that long keel?
Well, a long keel, it's a lower centre of gravity, but it is longer, so if anything, that might make the boat pitch a little bit more. These are these initial shots, and the Kiwis have pushed forward now.
Pressure hold.
See their bow, just a little bit advanced on the Alinghi. These are these crucial moments. The first time that we've seen SUI 100 against meaningful opposition. Now the big wave just coming onto Emirates Team New Zealand. See how the bow handles that as it punches through. That's forcing Barker to go just a little bit bow down as Alinghi also weaves her way up the first windward beat. Now Alinghi are coming back here.
Starting to get into a bit more of a powerful position here now, Ed.
That's Brad Butterworth talking there.
Butterworth just reassuring Ed Beard that they coming back at Emirates Team New Zealand off the line. The Kiwis certainly look powerful. Now Alinghi are coming back. Could well be that the wind, it was maximum right there for a period. If it's gone back to the left a little bit, that helps the leeward boat, Alinghi. Now the New Zealanders are out of there. Kiwis forced to tack away. Alinghi were affecting the airflow.
It's off for 30, then building.
Well, now I guess it's going to be very crucial if the point where Team New Zealand is tacking away now, that we think they have a left-hand shift like Peter has been saying here, and you know, if they can sail on in a nice line with pressure and left-hand shift, they should be all right. But if Alinghi have forced them to tack away on in a bad spot, and Alinghi can pick a nice lane to tack themselves, and that's going to make the difference. And it looks quite patchy out here on the water as well. Lumpy and patchy.
Lumpy and patchy, what a hideous combination for the tacticians. Brad Butterworth there calling the tactics on Alinghi. Terry Hutchinson calling them for Emirates Team New Zealand, and both these afterguards are going to have their work cut out today as we watch the boats pitching into this slop. This is an ugly seaway for these boats, and what we still don't know is where the wind shifts are and which the favoured side of the course was when they hit the line. On board here with Emirates Team New Zealand, Terry Hutchinson in Dean Barker's ear.
Wind gear.
Just looking at the live weather data coming off the course. Now this updates every 15 seconds, so it's pretty accurate. We can see there was a little bit of right. It's gone back left, certainly up towards the top mark. So there are some wind shifts and the effect of the sloppy sea state. So we're looking at the Kiwi boat. Distinctive slab side.
Well, we're the narrowest boat in the fleet, we've established that. We're about a third of the way up the first leg, pretty much in the centre of the course. Numbers are showing at the moment the advantage has swung back to the Swiss boat. Bang, slamming into another one. Ed Baird in his familiar stance at the wheel, that lean that we've come to know over the years. Each of them has their own characteristics when they're there. So we've got the Swiss boat out on port tack, just showing a bit of a lead. Nice is the word that we're hearing off the boat. They're obviously happy with where they are now.
We're now seeing Alinghi a bow up. Alinghi have, since the tack, of showing in terms of the advantage line to be ahead. Off the line, both boats came off on a right-hand shift. When it went back left, Emirates Team New Zealand pretty well forced the tack away. Alinghi just cleared the area and then tacked.
It'll come back.
It's given Alinghi showing to be ahead.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to see how the advantage line is going back and forth here a bit, but also thinking about the two different packages we have on the race course. My assumption is that these conditions are going to be more suitable for Alinghi than for Team New Zealand, with a rounder, more full and powerful hull shape and bow, and a wider boat as well. So it was quite impressive early on to see how Team New Zealand was hanging on to windward. Probably a right-hand shift at the moment, but it'll be, for these conditions, good information on how these two boats are performing in this sort of condition.
That was Ernesto Bertarelli giving the
pretty good,
eyeball there through his rangefinder, seeing how the opposition is going in comparison with the Swiss boat. And I would imagine that would indicate at the moment that there's just very little, and it's just too hard to guess at the moment. Brad Butterworth, skipper tactician, just listening to his laconic voice. He is the master, and he is just so calm in these situations.
Certainly, Butterworth just
we're going good.
Happy with the performance. Alinghi going well. Relative performance between the boats off the line, very even. New Zealanders did survive in that windward position. I think that was more about wind shift than a speed advantage. And as they've come back on port, Simon Daubney trimming the Genoa on the Alinghi. Alinghi has certainly been able to look comfortable. You can see the stability, a little bit difference between the boat. Alinghi just stands up a little, doesn't lean over as much as Emirates Team New Zealand. Alinghi a wider boat with quite powerful bow sections. Kiwi boat tends to be quite narrow, a little bit narrower than Alinghi.
Grant Loretz, Louis Loretz, trimming up wind for Emirates Team New Zealand, still wearing his sawn-off hat that we first saw in the Louis Vuitton Cup. There was a bit of a joke about reducing windage by making the peaks a bit shorter, and I've likened it to an Edwardian cricket cap, and clearly it's one favour. There's a couple of them wearing them now, and maybe it's giving them an extra fraction of a millimetre of something or other.
See how deep the Genoa is on Emirates Team New Zealand. Dean Barker helming, Terry Hutchinson immediately behind him. Just in front, that's Adam Bieshel. Alinghi have stepped out a little bit here.
We're halfway up the first beat now. Race one, leg one, 32nd America's Cup. Alinghi, the early advantage at this stage. Lead of about a boat length. Heading out towards the starboard ley line. Lumpy conditions. The most unpleasant we've seen probably in this whole regatta, as NZL 92 slams into another wave. Not comfy conditions at all.
There's only been one tack off the line. Boats have really just settled into 2 long tacks, evaluating the speed. It's a weather buoy there right on the bow of Alinghi. That's where the live data that we receive comes in. The monitoring station. Did hear it might have come off Alinghi that they were in left-hand pressure.
Not too quick, guys.
Bad. What thoughts through his mind at the moment? Here he is for all these guys. This is the ultimate sailing dream come true. Helming an America's Cup yacht in the America's Cup match. And it's tight.
What's that? Sorry, what?
Looks like as we come up just over halfway up the first windward beat.
Looks like more wind up at the top mark, Murray. Yeah.
Brad Butterworth observing a bit more wind speed, a bit more pressure up at the top mark. He'll pick that by looking at the wind on the water.
He was talking
darker colour would indicate more pressure, more breeze, more wind speed.
He was saying, talking to Murray, that's Murray Jones.
It's easier to sail along this side, eh? The other tank, you're into the waves a bit.
Just Butterworth indicating a bit easier on the boat going on port. On starboard, we saw the boats really pitching hard into the waves. Alinghi just looks a little bit more bow up to me. Now, that could be a function of the sea state.
Here we go. Are we looking for a first cross?
So coming up to the first cross, Emirates Team New Zealand, even off the line.
The 32nd America's Cup is well underway. Alinghi against Team New Zealand. Alinghi with the white spinnaker there, being chased by Team New Zealand at the moment. Don't forget, if you press the red button on your remote control, you can go interactive and enjoy all sorts of different views, as well as our 3D virtual eye. And that's what we're going to use to bring you right up to date with what's happened so far. Richard Simmonds in the studio.
Thank you, Alec. OK, this was the pre-start. 30 seconds to go. Well, the boat on the right-hand side, Emirates Team New Zealand. Alinghi just dipping down there a little in the final, 10, 11 seconds, and they just crossed the line a fraction behind the Kiwis. And then we had a drag race. Alinghi, brand new boat, out for the first time. Could the Kiwis keep up? Well, they could, and a little more. Alinghi hit one or two bad waves. It's quite bumpy out in the waters of Valencia today, and it was just about advantage Emirates Team New Zealand. But they've got a little close to the Swiss boat, were forced to tack over to the right-hand side of the racecourse. Well, a long drag race over there, and then it was tack to tack. Liebauer, Alinghi, and eventually Alinghi put themselves between the mark and the Kiwis. Well, they got round, what, 13 seconds ahead. Alinghi, well, they always said to be fast upwind, but the Kiwis are thought to be fast downwind. We're about, Alec, to find out.
We are indeed, and the fact is every time Alinghi's reached the first mark in the lead, they've gone on to win the race, so we shall see what happens. They certainly have their work cut out this afternoon. So let's rejoin our commentators on the course. Magnus Holmberg on the water, and in the commentary box, Peter Lester and Martin Tasker.
Nice, Mo.
Alinghi we've seen practicing off the beach, and we've actually seen them shred a couple of kites. Very easily done on these boats. Jeremy and Omas, Bowerman on Emirates Team New Zealand, having a bit of a tidy up. Spare kite sitting there just forward of the mast in case they do have one of those unfortunate mishaps. They're flying a staysail as well, both boats with staysails up. Well, watching the action, this is a huge crowd down at AC Park, America's Cup Park, watching on the big screen, absorbed by this action, and it is well, both sides absorbed. It's a good, tight, close contest at the moment. We're still not quite sure what boat's doing what, and these guys are sure enjoying it in the sunshine. And for people watching this in New Zealand, it'll be quite a contrast because it's freezing cold down there and it's really hot and sunny up here. Hot action too. Dean Barker at the helm of Emirates Team New Zealand. That's Don Cowie there, trimming the main.
A big trim on in the mainsail there as the boat surged down a wave. Linky just holding that 3 boat lengths, just over 3 lengths that they had at the top mark. So both boats are sailing quite a hot angle here. They're not sailing necessarily their VMG or their optimum angle to the bottom mark. They're sailing a tactical angle.
How much will they still be trying to learn about each other's boats in doing that in this downwind leg?
Could be a bit of that, but I think they've got both teams will have a very, very good handle on each other's boats in terms of the performance. New Zealanders, however, quite bow up. Alinghi have also come bow up to defend their lead. See Brad Butterworth on the right, just looking across at the relative angle between the 2 boats.
Both boats well pressed up. Kites have settled in, showing that they are holding up the angle a bit. We're not getting the bobbling that we had. Looking down on Alinghi.
You can catch a few of these if you want. You can go down a little bit if you want, you know.
Brad Butterworth just indicating
you
there.
might push forward on them.
To encourage the crew to catch a few waves.
Like sailing dinghies, 100 feet long. Pumping the main.
Yeah, but not too slow.
Trying to get on top of those waves and surge down, and they're doing a pretty good job there on the Swiss boat.
What do you think is bad here is what?
Don Cowie on the main sheet of Emirates Team New Zealand, also working the sheet quite hard. Brad Butterworth just
A length ahead of him, all right?
asking where is the bad air. So a length ahead of where Emirates Team New Zealand are at present. So Alinghi
very good.
Clear, have clear wind.
The billionaire boss on the grinder, Ernesto Bertarelli.
Rodney Ardern on the other side.
He's not fucking...
He's halfway down now. We're halfway down leg 2, race 1, 32nd America's Cup. Magnus, any hints of where the best place to be might be?
Well, it looks like it's coming down a bit more pressure from the left side of the course, looking upwind, and looked like both boats were jibing onto a nice lane here. It looks as they are quite even in speed. There is a lot to gain with good technique and pumping and so on these waves.
In the old days, if you fancied watching something half decent, you had to sit down when the newspaper told you. Then Sky Plus bowled into your life and that all changed. Now you watched quality stuff whenever you felt like it. Fast forward to 2007 and you clock this thing called Anytime on your TV guide. Get in, you chirp. See, Anytime brings you a tasty bunch of shows via Sky Plus and HD that you might just want to discover. Sky Anytime. Your Sky on demand.
I'm one of these people, likes that I'm very fortunate that what I do for a living, I enjoy. Everybody's mother would say to you, it's good to have a trade son. And that's what I done.
Raindrops.
Wouldn't you like to be with a bank that can give you air miles? To find out more, take a trip to your local Lloyds TSB branch. Air miles and Lloyds TSB for the journey.
Midway through match one of the America's Cup between Alinghi of Switzerland and Team New Zealand, and you can follow us on Sky Interactive as well. And on the course, Alinghi are opening up a good lead. Richard Simmonds can bring us up to date.
Well, thank you, Alec. Well, the match now at the moment, Alinghi have to go back to the top mark and then down wind to the finish. At the moment, though, well, Alinghi have a 100-metre advantage, but they've eked that out by 13 seconds. Well, that was their lead at the first mark. Downhill, everyone said the wind behind. Were Emirates New Zealand going to catch up? Well, in fact, they lost a little. It was 20 seconds, the deficit at the bottom mark. So we're now looking at Alinghi leading, and one would imagine are going to do everything to put themselves between their opposition and the next mark, advantage Switzerland.
And let's get back live to the course now, from our live virtual eye to our live cameras on board Emirates Team New Zealand. We can rejoin our commentators.
Patchy, Magnus, is what you were saying before, still the same?
Yes, it's certainly still patchy, and I still feels like it's, if anything, a little bit better pressure on the left-hand side compared to where the boats are right now. But it is patchy and looks quite tricky. So that means the Team New Zealand, if they're smart now, there are opportunities perhaps to get back if they manage to play the game right.
What a tricky game it is.
New Zealand on the left. If we look at the Janara of Emirates Team New Zealand. back a little bit here to the New Zealanders. We did hear Butterworth talking about
Lock into the speeds again, eh, Warwick?
the left-hand side. Butterworth talking to Warwick Fleury, the mainsail trimmer, about target speeds.
This is Josh Belsky here, fiddling with some lines. What was he doing there, do you think?
He's tailing the lines down through a... One thing that's important is to keep all the lines clean. Looking at some of the numbers. Yeah, they're
also
jumping
seeing
up.
the lights, which we might the umpire lights that might yet come into play. They're another innovation for us.
The umpire lights, the green light is the zone light. So that comes on at the top and bottom marks if the umpires, when the boats first enter the zone, if they're overlapped. 2 boat lengths at the top, 3 at the bottom. The amber light was the overlap light. The white light's for a rule 17.1, which is proper course light on the downwind. What it is, it's an indicator to the afterguards by the umpires if these specific rules come into play. Haven't seen them used as yet.
Got to be a bit tighter for that.
New Zealanders are coming back here a little bit. Magnus looking up the course again. It's like Emirates Team New Zealand are happy to foot it out to the left. We did hear Butterworth query about the left-hand side. How does it look looking up the track now?
Well, for a while I thought that Team New Zealand was sailing into more breeze, sailing into the left-hand breeze or the pressure earlier than Alinghi. So I was a little bit surprised that Alinghi actually crossed and took the right-hand side of them. And it certainly seemed like Team New Zealand have closed up a little bit, being on the left-hand side of Alinghi.
We're right here at the top, to the wall.
There's a new little innovation on Emirates Team New Zealand on the top of the winches, just on the left-hand side of the picture there. You can see a sleek blue cap, and these are like racing helmets, and they've actually got the Kiwi flag on them, I think. All part of trying to save the windage. We'll try and get you a better look at that little new innovation as we approach, well, maybe a third of the way up leg 3 of America's Cup match 1.
The advantage line here is showing the New Zealanders have come back at Alinghi. So we look down through the sail plan. The Swiss defender.
Nice righty at the top, eh?
Brad Butterworth indicating that there's right hand pressure at the top, probably at the top of the mast, the wind gear. See again this familiar tactic at the bottom half of the windward beat, where the boat's quite happy to stretch it out, not engage, just testing the boat speed.
Here's a way to enjoy a little bit of a late lunch. This is one of the restaurants on the far end of the port. You can see the boats out through the windows there, and
Alinghi coming back quite short there, not wanting to give the New Zealanders any more separation than's necessary. Back come the Kiwis. It's been quite a physical race for the crews, especially the grinders.
Overall, Murray, Kiwi are still all right, isn't it? Yeah, no, we got to push back.
Brad Butterworth just checking with Murray Jones. A lot of communication between Jones and Butterworth in terms of the positioning of the boats on the water.
2/3 of the way up leg 3. Alinghi hanging on to their lead over Emirates Team New Zealand, but it has been considerably reduced. Has it been reduced enough to put the Kiwis in a position to attack on the downwind leg? Always the the key question, how close they could keep it.
That was a very nice tack by Barker. Managed to find a flat spot. Certainly picking your gap to tack the boat vital when it's so rough.
Stand by, next bit of flat water, Ed. You just pick it.
Butterworth there, just reinforcing that with Ed Beard. The tactician wants to tack, but he's just asking the helmsman to pick the flat water before he does the manoeuvre.
Mindful of the fact that if you tack on a bad one, you're just going to, the boats in these conditions can just almost, well, they stop.
Certainly if you slam into a wave. In terms of the small meters, Alec have extended again here. Kiwis came right back.
Just pick a nice bit of wave water here. Here we yep, let's go.
Just over 2 lengths advantage to Alec over Emirates Team New Zealand up the second windward beat. Alec have led at every mark.
I wonder who's emerging quicker out of these tacks. Doesn't seem to be a lot in it. Doesn't seem to be a lot in the speed.
I think it's even. Coming up into the top third. About 4.5 minutes to go to the top mark. Certainly Emirates Team New Zealand came back there quite short. So Emirates Team New Zealand engaging. Alec defending. Alec defending the right-hand side now in the top of the second windward beat. 3 boat lengths advantage to the Swiss defender.
Here we go. Stand by. Yep, on you. Yep.
For a while it looked as though the Swiss might possibly have opened the door for Emirates Team New Zealand, sailing out on the left-hand side of the course, but they've been mighty quick to slam it shut again, and they have extended out a little bit more, and they'll hope they can get themselves around the top mark into some clean air for the final run for home in this first race of the America's Cup match.
As they've come up the second windward beat at the bottom mark, the left-hand side did seem to pay. And as we've got into the top third of the course, the right hand seems to have come back to be quite powerful in terms of wind direction and pressure. It's a rough day, sea state-wise, left over sea from a bit of wind that had been overnight.
Kiwis again in something of a damage limitation mode, just trying to keep it tight. But the Swiss, in the way they do it,
certainly came right back there, right in the bow of Emirates Team New Zealand. Swiss were clear ahead, well clear ahead. New Zealand is now being pushed back to the port hand ley line. Boats will come up to the ley lines as they come to the top mark. Now the ley line is just the imaginary line or the straight line in terms of the tacking angle to the top mark. See there on the animation, the yellow V, they're the ley lines to the mark. The right hand is the starboard ley line. The port hand is where Emirates Team New Zealand are heading now. That's the port ley line. You come in from the left-hand side. Once you're on the ley line, it really becomes a huge advantage to the leading boat. They can dictate terms to the trailing boat.
Nice little chopper on the back of that spectator boat. That's the sort of money that is around the America's Cup as we approach the ley line and the run into the top mark.
Emirates Team New Zealand just would have gone slightly beyond the ley line, just so that when Alinghi come at them, they know the Swiss boat will try and put themselves in a position to put turbulent wind down into Emirates Team New Zealand. So Alinghi now tacking for Mark 3 of the first race of the 32nd America's Cup. Led throughout, extended their lead on the first downwind. The New Zealanders have come back on the second windward beat. About 12, 13 knots of wind speed, big seaway running, lots of jobble. Well, I think the New Zealanders are close enough here for the downwind to certainly make...
Disappearing pretty fast. I think one thing that has been impressive about the Kiwis is that they have kept plugging away. They haven't let that lead get so enormous until now, when it looks like it's been, as much as anything, a boat speed issue and conditions that clearly suit SUI 100.
Just wonder, another discussion point will be the moding of the boats. Because right through the Louis Vuitton Cup, Emirates Team New Zealand look to be one of the faster downwind boats. Just wonder if they haven't maybe traded off a bit of downwind to help their upwind in terms of bulb, in terms of wing configuration or rudder. We've seen a bit of a correction in the moding of Emirates Team New Zealand. But in doing so, Alinghi certainly looked the equal of Emirates Team New Zealand upwind, but downwind, the Swiss, for my eye, have had an advantage. It's where they've made the gain.
Nice gain, Nero. Really nice gain. Good work, Ed.
Ed Baird gets a pat on the back from his tactician as Peter van Nieuwenhuizen clambers back on board. Big man, big strong guy from the Netherlands. Sailed with America 1 in 2000 and Alinghi, of course, in 2003.
Anywhere from now on, just pick your time.
On board the Kiwi boat, still plugging away.
Huge in terms of not just doing the physical bowman role, but assisting the helmsman with pre-start. Key player in the team. Alinghi now, as we come to about the last 6 minutes of the downwind, comfortably in the lead. Led throughout. They were bow forward at the first cross. They won the first mark. But on both downwinds, they've been able to extend and get out to a comfortable margin to be clear of Emirates Team New Zealand. Kiwis did come back on the second windward beat, but Alinghi have run away on the second downwind.